Well, we're back here to unpack the news, and today we're looking at e-waste in Ghana. Well, when we talk about e-waste, what comes to mind? Well, it is believed that electricals and electronic items that are dumped in a particular country, a particular place, and for example, in Ghana, in 2011, it's been said that we had about 215,000 tons of electrical items coming into the country. 30% of them were brand new and 70% of them were used. So now, when all these things go waste, where do we place them? How do we dump them? How do we dispose of them? Well, I have two people in the studio this morning, and we'll be talking about this particular issue. I have Federico. How are you doing?
I'm fine,
and,
thank you.
Ilaria, how are you also doing? Welcome to Ghana.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're going to talk about e-waste. What is the situation of e-waste in the world, and then with regards to Ghana?
Well, at the moment, in a growing number of countries around the world, policymakers are developing legislation, and at the same time, industry and private sector are developing recycling infrastructure. And I would say, for instance, in Europe, we have now a running system since 2003, where consumer disposing electrical appliances through municipal collection point or retailers, and then producers of electronic equipment are taking care and make sure that the proper recycling is taking place, so we can recover some precious elements, some strategic material, copper, aluminium, and we are reintroducing this material in the economic loop. That's the work that is currently being done by many producers in Italy and in other countries as well. So on the other hand, developing countries now are a little bit behind, so I think here in Ghana you're discussing a legislation, a bill on e-waste management. So there's some still some let's say steps to be done on a political level for sure, but also on a practical level. So trying to build up proper recycling infrastructure, make sure that people are not treating these appliances in informal way, so without health and safety protective equipment, so to make sure really you are recovering the economic value inside the appliances, but at the same time you are protecting the environment. So you don't need to burn a cable to get the copper out of it, because you are polluting the environment and you are suffering then severe human health consequences. So maybe you just need to strip the cable to get the copper out of it. You get at the end the copper.
That would need a lot of education, because many people don't think that is a way to go, because they package a lot of copper wires and all the other e-waste. I mean, sitting down to peel it off one after the other, isn't it going to be very tiring?
Might be very tiring, but at the end of the day you are getting the copper out of it with better purity, so maybe you are getting even more money, and you protect yourself. You're not getting the cancer, you're protecting the environment, because when you burn the copper cable, the plastics is produced not meant to be burned, so they have particular additives inside, and to prevent the plastic to burn. When you burn it at low temperature, you emit dioxin and furans, and so in the long term you get the cancer. So that's why it's very important to make people aware that what they are doing is not the best for themselves, for their health, and for the environment. And you can get the same result. The copper maybe it's taking a little bit too long, but at the end it pay off.
Okay, Ilaria, you are a journalist. Let me find out, in all your reportage that you've been doing across the world, how does it come to you as in gathering information with respect to e-waste? What is the intensity? What is the intensity of it? The dangers?
The dangers about
the e-waste. I mean, in terms of your reportage.
It's very dangerous. The wrong treatment of the waste, because as Federico said, inside of TV, fridges, lamps, and such stuff like that, there are lots of dangerous components as mercury, as lead, and if you don't treat them properly, you can make damages in the environment and also for the human health of people that work with that. You can see also in country as Italy, for example, because where also in Italy we need to make education about the correct treatment of that e-waste, because there are lots of people that treat them at home in a way that is not proper.
Okay.
And they made the same damage they made here in Ghana. Is quite strange to see that, because it's also easy to find abandoned fridges, TVs on the streets of the cities, for example, or in the landside.
What has been the response to most of the reports that you write on with regards to e-waste? What has been the response from, say, government or stakeholders?
In Italy we got some laws about that. The situation is quite good because we are working on it. But the most interesting thing is about common people. Common people don't know lots of things about e-waste. For people it's not perceived as a problem.
Yeah.
That's the theme, and it's quite strange.
Yeah. Is it expensive to set up a plant that is going to like take care of these?
Yes, but I think when you speak about technology which is needed to process properly e-waste, we might have a different understanding of technology depending on the location we are, because in Europe mostly we have semi-automated plants which might be expensive to build up, maybe €500,000 or €1 million, just to give you a rough idea. But what is important is that technology might also be a hammer and a screwdriver when you manage them or you use them in the right way, so under certain safety and health and safety conditions. So with some education, awareness raising, you can do a very good job even doing manual disassembly. So you need to find the solution which fits your need, because of course it's different. For instance, the labor cost we have in Italy compared to labor cost existing in China, India, in Ghana, in all even for instance comparing Western Europe and Eastern Europe, we have different approach. So technology used are different because you need to find the good balance.
Now the question I want to ask is, it's come to a point where, for example, these things that are built for us, the laptops, the computers, the monitors, the TV sets, the fridges and all that, the materials that are used in building them, that is what, when you dispose of, becomes e-waste. What is the relationship between advocates like you and the companies that manufacture such items? Is it possible for them to use eco-friendly materials to produce all these, or we need to wait for the e-waste to hit us before we
No, I mean, we are here and with this doing this reportage with Ilaria because in Italy there's producers that created a compliance scheme called Ecodom. It's the biggest scheme in Italy, and Ecodom is taking care for producers, so for the manufacturer of goods like Indesit, the Italian brand, or other companies, and they make sure that all the e-waste being disposed by Italian citizens are correctly transported, safely dismantled, treated into the recycling plants, and then the recycling plants produce at the end out of their activities copper, aluminium, ferrous, and those materials are entering again the production cycle. So we see already around the world some producers of electronic goods that are using, for instance, plastics to produce their brand new equipment, which is coming from proper recycling of end-of-life electronics. So we can close the loop, and what we have seen in Italy is that producers are really committed to their corporate social responsibility. They comply with the legislation. Sometimes, like in the case of Ecodom, for instance, they are even carrying out stricter control compared to what is needed really strictly by the legislation to make sure a greater level of environmental protection is achieved. For instance, when we recycle a refrigerator, they have very dangerous substances causing greenhouse effect, so it's also impacting on climate change in the circuit or in the foam. So they really need to make sure that when a guy receives a refrigerator for treatment, it's not just cutting the circuit and the liquid is blowing out, and so they really need to make sure it's properly removed and disposed of. So that's the strong level or the stricter audit control they are currently doing, just to make sure the environmental protection level they want to achieve is met. So this is really important.
Ilaria, if in your reportage, I mean, have you done something on Africa?
No, it's the first time for me.
It's the first time for you? Oh, all right, okay. So that means there's a lot more for you, because I wanted to see the comparison between how we deal with waste here in Africa and then how you deal with it in Italy.
about what I've seen in
Yeah,
this period,
yeah.
as I told before, in some way there are some similarities between the treatment of e-waste in Italy in some ways and Ghana, because there are lots of people in Italy that steal old fridges, old TVs from the platforms.
The formal streams, we have some leakages.
Okay.
And they try to gain selling by own self copper and steel and so on. And they treat this stuff at the same way, quite at the same way they treat here in Ghana, for example, without attention for environment, without attention for laws, without attention for their own
Right, okay.
health. And so they made the same damages on the environment and on human health.
Let me ask, is it okay, I mean, for one to consider that, I mean, you're recycling the waste? It's expensive to do that. Is it worth it to recycle and reuse?
Well, it depends. The proper recycling of waste, of e-waste, is for sure implying some cost, especially when you want to protect the persons working or recycling, and when you want to protect the environment. So there are certain costs. Of course, some appliances at the end, even if you take care of a proper recycling, you can gain some money at the end.
Okay.
This is not true for all the devices. This is not true for all the components. So in some cases, proper recycling might at the end result in a positive value, which is profitable. In some other cases, it's not. So you need to somebody taking care, so financing the proper recycling, because some money might be needed for certain fraction, for certain components, if you want to run a profitable recycling business under certain health and safety conditions. So this is really important, and this is one of the key message we as United Nations University, we are having some programs to help governments, policymakers, entrepreneurs to learn more. So we have some capacity building program running around the world. We were in Ghana last year, and we are most probably going to Latin America in beginning of 2014. That's why it's really important to explain. At the same time, you mentioned the refurbishment. The refurbishment is quite a common practice in Africa and even in other regions of the world. Of course, nothing prevent a proper extend the lifetime of an appliances by means of a proper refurbishment. So I think nothing bad with that. But sooner or later, even after maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 times you refurbish the product, at the end it will be recycled.
Right.
And at the same time, it's important to have a recycling infrastructure, because even during the refurbishment process, you generate some parts, some small components you cannot refurbish, and then you need to dispose.
Right.
So you need this layer.
What is the degree of commitment and cooperation from various stakeholders and governments that we've spoken to? I mean, with regards to how they want to react quickly to dealing with e-waste problems? Well,
we, for instance, I'm working for the United Nations University, and we established, or we launched with other UN organization a platform, an initiative which is called STEP Initiative, Solving the E-Waste Problem. And this initiative is currently running under the UNU coordination, but other UN organizations are there. We have non-governmental organizations, we have the private sector, we have some producers, some recyclers, some NGOs, and we are currently doing projects all over the world in different areas, and that's how I think we can really demonstrate if there's commitment from the stakeholders, you can really run the projects, you can deliver results. And we just launched a few weeks ago a project in Ethiopia, for instance. We are running projects in China, in different regions. I think it's feasible. There's a growing attention of policymakers to this issue, and I think even this opportunity to try to raise this issue in Ghana, people should understand e-waste treatment is an opportunity, but at the same time you need to deal with in a proper way, because otherwise you are not meeting the ultimate goal of sustainable development, protection of human health, of the environment, and so on.
Federico, thank you so very much for coming to the studio, and to you, Ilaria, also.
Thank you.
We thank you for coming to Ghana. I mean, I hope you're going to stay longer, but you're just leaving when tonight?
No, Thursday evening.
Thursday evening. Okay, all right. Okay, wish you all the best, and anything that you guys want to, we're always here to help you out. All right, so there we go. I mean, e-waste is a menace, and there's a way to deal with it. All we need to do is that if the awareness is created and created properly, would ensure that everything moves on smoothly. We'll be right back. To stay on. This is This Morning, proudly brought to you by MTN and UT Bank.